Ferrante baseball in here on the action. What's going on, Coach? I'm sorry for the
What's
wait,
up,
man.
dude? Oh, no worries. It's good information, man. Let me just get my thing set up here.
Yeah,
All
do your
right.
thing, man. Do
Hey,
your
thanks for having
thing.
me, man.
Yeah, man, not a problem at all. And before I hit you with these questions, a couple of the viewers have some questions for you. Just give us a little bit of background. Where are you from and where are you repping?
So I'm from California, from the Bay Area. I played, obviously, there's a lot more to me than just my baseball, but since we're all here for
My
baseball,
God.
um, I had a lot of success growing up. One common thing for me was my attitude. I had and I fought it, man. I just didn't want to hear it. But people told me, scouts, other parents, you got a bad attitude. Um, I kind of call it like a curse. I was very good, right, in the physical. I was a big guy, strong, had a lot of physical tools, velocity, and home run power. And I kind of was allowed to get away with some behavior that I shouldn't have, right? Slamming bats, just showing my frustration out on the field. I was just one of those guys that just showed it. Maybe it's the Italian side. I don't know. Talking with the hands all the time, a lot of
Yeah,
facial expressions. You knew
right.
when Vic wasn't in a good mood. Um,
Yeah.
so anyways, I continued to have a lot of success. I worked hard as an athlete, but I didn't really focus on this at all,
Yeah.
right? I avoided it
Yeah.
at all costs. Anyways, fast forward through high school, I was actually a two-way player my entire life. Um, and I got drafted the first time by Houston Astros out of high school as a pitcher. I did not sign back then. This is in '03, so we're talking, this is the draft and follow days. So I did not sign. I decided to go to a local junior college. Went out there, was primarily a hitter in my mind, but I was a two-way. I led the league, home runs, RBIs, got drafted again by the Astros as a pitcher. So
Wow.
as
Hey,
good as
they
I did,
wanted you either way.
they wanted me. I mean, it was low round. So again, I didn't
Yeah.
sign. I wanted to go as a hitter. That was my love. That was my passion.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of, at least in my opinion, and based on the results and the numbers I put up, I was a pretty good hitter.
Yeah.
So anyways, I stuck with it. Following the got hurt, injured, out for the year. Lost my sophomore year, or I didn't lose it. I redshirted. Got the year back. Got in better shape. I kicked butt. Got into nutrition. Got into strength training, or at least on a more consistent, structured, format. I went out there. I increased 5 miles an hour on my fastball, so from 90 to 94, 95. So I became a closer, hitting the ball just as far, if not farther than the year before, with the Beezer bats, by the way. So those balls were flying. But
Those are
I
juice,
also,
man.
yeah, oh man, it was a lot of fun hitting those things. And I also shaved half a second off my 60 time. So I really got down into the physical side of it. But again, I was missing the one component, which is the main thing that I focus on nowadays is up here, man. I just did not know how to control myself when, and we all hit those low points. And some guys are able to stay more even keel up here, and they just understand that that's just part of the game, and they either minimize that time in the trenches, to where they're able to get back up to that hot streak sooner, right? I was just one of those guys that my trench was just almost bottomless. I would
When
be
it was
so
bad, it
so
was bad.
cold. It
Yeah.
was bad, man.
Yeah.
Or I'd
Yeah.
just be so high, and I didn't know how to get back up to the high point.
Right.
So I never hit 300 in pro ball. I was fully capable, in my opinion, of doing that. I mean, I have 1 month I'd hit like 130, 140 or something, but then the next month I'd hit like 380 or
Been
350.
there.
You know what I mean?
Is that, am I the same guy?
Yeah, it's like, could I at least hit somewhere in the middle there and maybe,
Yeah.
balance it
Yeah.
out? But so anyways, yeah, so I tend to focus, everything is important, the mechanics, and I learn a lot from you guys, from all the coaches that have been on here today. So thank you to the previous coaches. I didn't learn mechanics. I did not have one single hitting lesson my entire life. Not one. Just working with other players, just out there hitting. So I learned to hit through feel. So when I got into started, because I actually haven't been instructing very long, I realized, holy crap, I don't know much about hitting mechanics. So
Yeah.
I get lost with a lot of it, to be honest with you. There's a lot of smart guys out there that know what they're talking about, and I'm learning more and more all the time. But then I hear the guys downplaying or saying that these big leaguers are wrong by saying that they swing down or that they, swing level or whatever it may be.
Hey guys, go ahead and hop back on the live. We're going to get Ferrante baseball back on. Looks like we might have gone a little bit over the time there. With the first initial live, I went ahead and shared the first live video so you can
lives that I had with Baseball Doctor and Let's Barrel Up. But we're going to continue with Ferrante baseball. He was talking about his career. There he is. Sorry,
what's going on, man?
We were on a time limit there, but everybody's getting
That's
back
all right.
on,
Yeah, we're learning.
Continue
I'm
where
actually
you
new
left
to the
off.
live. I don't even know where I was. Where was I? About mechanics. I mean, it's all important. It's all very, very important. But I know that, like in my particular case, my biggest flaw and my biggest hurdle, or what caused the most inconsistency in my game and my batting average, let's say, my production, was the mental game. Like, without a doubt. Maybe mine a little more extreme than others, but I also know that there's some players that wouldn't show their frustration, keep it inside.
Yeah.
And that can be, when it comes to your own results, that can be just as bad, if not worse, because they go unnoticed.
Yeah.
So
And it's so tough in pro ball because there's no break.
Yeah.
The mental game, as you said, and that's something I struggle with in pro ball. In college, we'd have the 3-game series, and if I just completely crapped the bed that weekend, I would at least, have until that Tuesday to kind of figure it out. And like you said, in pro ball, I mean, it's every day. And, when you're fighting for a position, but mentally you're just not there, it's hard to be your best self, as you mentioned. So going off of that, what are some of the techniques, or what are some of the strategies that you use when working with your guys and your clients and the guys you coach? How do you keep them mentally stable when they're going through a slump, or when they're just going through a tough time and they're just not being their best self out there on the field?
I think first I have to start off with them is developing some awareness, right? Awareness of themselves, that you can self-monitor yourself. When we're so caught up in our own perspective that we don't realize that we actually have control. Like there's another self within us that can control, that can monitor. That's actually called metacognition. So it's your ability to think about what you think about. Right? We have that ability, unlike other animals, on this planet, is that we can think about what we think. We can step back, peel a layer back of perspective and say, okay, and learn to catch yourself when you're feeling, anxious, nervous, you feel the added pressure, or your confidence is down. So here's one thing I would start off with a guy. So for like a growth mindset, or to develop an elite mindset, is E plus R equals O. And that is event plus response equals outcome. Right? So, I mean, this basically sums up your everyday life, every minute of your life, especially every minute on the baseball field. An event, for example, bad call by the umpire, right? It goes against you. You have the ability, believe it or not, to respond accordingly, right? And how you respond is going to determine that outcome. So it's simple math. E plus R equals O. The key point I focus on is that R, right? The event is external. The R is something that is our responsibility to, is our ability to respond, right? So that is what we can control. And no matter what happens, we always play a role in that event, right? Or in that outcome. So for example, you get that bad call. If you throw up your hands, you get discouraged, you start thinking, oh, this umpire, he just took my at bat away. How successful are you going to be at winning that next pitch? Not very good. And I see this happen all the time. And then they end up swinging at a slider in the dirt. And then they walk away from they walk away from the batter's box, turning back and looking at the umpire. Because it was the umpire's fault, of course. So again, that is our response. Now that outcome can also now turn into an event, right? So now the outcome was a strikeout. Now how you respond to that outcome, now the outcome has turned into the event. Does that make sense? So now we circle back to the event, response, outcome, event, response, outcome, and it just keeps going. And that's what was my problem. I would continue to respond poorly or negatively to every outcome, and then it would just keep snowballing until eventually I'd run into one and I start feeling better. And then,
and then it's all good.
And then we're just happy and chipper, and everyone's happy to be around us.
Right.
So that's one thing.
So let me ask you this, man. And that E plus R equals O. Guys who are listening, man, write that down and put it down in the comments down below. Ferrante Baseball here if you're just joining in live. My question to you is, as humans, we're naturally emotional. When you're playing a game of baseball, for me, especially when I was in high school and coaches would tell me, don't throw your stuff, scouts are watching. Us being emotional, it's hard for us. It's hard for most and others to really hide what we're feeling. What can you say about body language in terms of, just being a ball player and, when you're going through a slump or when you're walking everybody, if you're a pitcher, what are some things besides the E plus R equals O that we can really focus on in the moment with our body language? And how much do you think that our body language actually is correlated to what's going on up here?
Very good question. I would say, so having a system in place. So I think Coach Mike mentioned it earlier, right? Having some systems and routines set up, and this takes some homework. This is practice. This is something that you need to train. Just like it's like saying like a bodybuilder not going to the gym. You'd be crazy. You're not going to be a bodybuilder if you don't lift weights, right? You're not going to get stronger if you don't lift weights. Baseball requires certain skill sets, right? Hit, run, field, throw, right? And everything in between. The mental game, believe it or not, is not a separate thing. You have, whatever baseball player you are, or wherever you are on this earth, you have a mental game. It's just a matter of, is that mental game working for you or is it working against you? Is it weak or is it strong? Unfortunately, it's not woven into our Little League, coaches. It's not their fault despite their best efforts, but they don't know what what would help you, what would help the players. They just say, think positive, have fun. And they're absolutely right. But how do you do that? Right. So again, if you're a pitcher on the mound, you're struggling, you're a hitter and you feel like you're losing control. You need to have a system in place and an awareness built up that you can say, okay, step back. If you're, let's say, maybe you're mid at bat, maybe you can call time, step out, take your helmet off, wipe the sweat away, whatever, adjust your, tap your cleats or whatever. I think Aaron Judge, they said he would, if he's feeling frustration in the middle of an at bat, he'll bend down or call time, bend down, grab some dirt. He'll squeeze it, right? He'll take kind of his frustrations, he'll channel it into that dirt. So he's using like a visual stimulus, right? And a physical thing to do, action to take, and throws the dirt along with the frustration. And then recenters his focus on the present moment. There's also a post I did on Instagram, and it's a pretty famous video that's floated around for years about Evan Longoria working with a sports psychologist. And he says that he picks up, when he feels himself getting out of control, he'll pick up the foul pole, because every field he goes to has a left field foul pole. He'll find the foul pole, he'll take one deep breath in and completely exhale, and then go to work on that next pitch. And same thing for a pitcher. You can step off. If you need to look in your glove, you need to, even if you needed to slam your fist into your glove one time, turn around, do that. Don't do it like you're doing it at the umpire or whoever. Step off, take a deep breath, regain control, and then go to work on the next pitch and focus on what you need to do right then and there.
Yeah, man, that's such awesome information. And it takes me back to my playing days. you really, when you're in the moment and you're playing, you really don't understand how important the mind really is. One thing that I would use, especially for a routine when I would go up to the plate, I would focus on, the 330 sign out there and right or left, or the 325 sign. I would take a deep breath, and then I would play a
Sorry, I lost you there. You said you would take a deep breath and what?
I would play that song in my head.
Oh, okay.
And that would kind of get my anxiety to go down. So I would focus on that 330 sign out there and left when I felt anxious, when I felt like, I'm 0 for 3 right now, and I'm going up for my 4th at bat, and I just don't feel it that night. I would go back to that song, play that song in my head. And that would be something for me that maybe, you guys watching could use, as Coach Vic was talking about, things that mentally brought him back down to earth, man. So going off that, man, that is just some awesome stuff. And we really don't talk about it a lot. The mental side of the game being just another aspect of the game. It's not separate, as you said. It's a part of it.
Yep.
So, man, I really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So, the saying 90% physical, or I'm sorry, 90% mental and 10% physical, yet we focus on the physical probably, excuse me, we focus on the physical probably 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe never, right? We focus on the mental. It's just not, it's not a natural thing. I think because it's something that we can't see. You can't really record it. So for example, scouts, and I get the question all the time, well, what do I got to do to get drafted? Well, and I'll answer, this is what scouts are looking for, run, hit with power, hit, field, throw, all the typical 5 tools. And that's great. It'll get some attention. But believe it or not, most guys don't realize there's a lot of guys in the country that can do those things, at a high level: speed, velocity, size, strength, all these things, and they can run. But what is actually going to take you down the road and have success down the road is the 6th tool, right? I like to call it the 6th tool. It is up here. And the reason is because there's no stopwatch and there's no radar gun that can measure this. I heard a saying a long time ago. I don't remember who said it, but I think it was an interview with an MLB scout. And the scout says that they're wrong the majority of the time when it comes to picking players. And they said that if they knew what was inside a player's head and heart, that they would be right almost every time.
Wow.
And I was like, man, it's true, because the mental is going to allow them to push through those barriers and improve on all the physical. And I think a lot of players get caught up in those 5 tools, for example, or what drills can I do, for my swing? And absolutely, you should do drills for your swing, but you want to train your whole self. You don't want to neglect anything that, especially the mental game. It's just not sexy.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sell,
Right.
And I think that that's kind of what people, like you said earlier, it's a very one-man game nowadays. I forget the term you use, right? It's it's all about
very individualistic,
home run, create more launch angle.
So
more launch angle, more home runs, right?
Yeah.
More money. And I think that's kind of it's not really the way that's going to be most beneficial to you as a player and as a person.
Yeah.
So actually, I do have one more thing, because I didn't mention the body language.
Yeah.
And I think the mind and the body language are linked. For example, I mean, if I were to tell you to think of something, or show me what sad looks like. So what would you do? What would be your first thing? Pretend you're sad. Show me with your body what sad looks like. You'll probably go like this.
I mean, I'd probably.
Right. So you're going to automatically change your body language, because you know exactly what sad looks like, right? So if I told you to pretend you're Superman, what are you going to do? Shoulders back, head up, nose up. You're going to you're going to get into the Superman pose. And you know, it's funny enough, that position actually raises testosterone.
Wow.
When you get into a power
Wow.
position, your testosterone levels actually increase, right? So your body
Wow.
actually changes, physiologically changes based on the position that you are in. So you create a loop. If you have a negative thought about your performance, your body is going to respond to it. If I'm thinking I'm no good, I failed, I'm going to droop my shoulders, I'm going to drop my head down, dragging my bat back to the dugout, right? If I just hit a home run, what happens? Well, if I hit a home run or get a gapper or something, ooh, I'm on second base, baby, let's go, right?
Yeah.
That's a body language, and you feel it, you get goosebumps, you know, when you think about doing it, you know, just playing in your head, you can get goosebumps. Your body responds to your thought. So I think having an awareness of this as a player, you can take control when you are feeling down, when your confidence is low, by your body language, how you hold yourself. You know, get big. If you've ever read Heads Up Baseball, they say get big, build shoulders back, puff your chest up, think positive about what you want, not what you're trying to avoid, right? Body language and self-talk, right? So self-talk, which is basically our thoughts in our head, are with our own voice. And how you talk to yourself, if you language that's exciting, I will do this. I can't be stopped. This guy will not beat me. Like, I get goosebumps just saying it myself. I'm just sitting at a desk right now. I don't got any games coming up. It's
the power
crazy.
of words,
And so the power of words, and you know, things don't happen to you. Things happen for you. And just changing that one little word makes a huge difference in baseball and in life.
Man, that is awesome.
I could talk all day.
Thank you so much, Coach Vic. We could talk all day about this stuff, man. And we really
all
could.
day, man. All
I'd
day.
love to
We got to get together again soon.
Man. Definitely, man. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Like
we got to do a Zoom.
Man, for sure. We'll do a Zoom, get all the coaches in, Coach Nate, baseball doctor, everybody in on it. Coach Mike with Let's Barrel Up, man. This was awesome. I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to Coach Vic. You guys go follow him right now. Is it Coach Ferrante? Are you the Italian side?
I usually go, I usually go Coach Vic. It's a little easier to say.
Coach Vic. Coach Vic, man, that's awesome, man. We'll appreciate your time. We're definitely going to have you on here again, man. You guys stay safe, keep washing those hands, and we'll talk again. Some more baseball, some more mental side.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. All right. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.